All right, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Pathways to Wealth. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the basics of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And we're going to do this in kind of like an explain like I'm five fashion. I don't want to get too technical. I just want to talk about the concepts of what Bitcoin is, how it works, and a lot of use cases for it, the different ways that you can use it. So on the line with me today, I have my colleague and trading partner, Rocky. Rocky, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. How you doing, Chris?
I'm great, man. How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. It's been a pretty exciting time in the markets.
Yeah, we've had a lot of volatility recently. And, I get questions, as I'm sure you do all the time, asking about the, just the basics of Bitcoin. There's still a lot of people that whenever you mention Bitcoin, they go, what? Like I've heard about it. I thought it was a Ponzi scheme. Some people lost a lot of money, Mount Gox, Silk Road. There's all these like stigmas attached to Bitcoin. And I've done several videos and episodes on Bitcoin. And, I've spoken at conferences and, the event that I put on. So just like you, Rocky, I'm kind of a advocate for Bitcoin. And, what we want to do for you guys watching this or listening to this today is just really talk about what Bitcoin is and kind of make it simple. So, Rocky, I'll just kind of let you take it over from here. And let's just start with the question, what the hell is Bitcoin?
All right, so my elevator pitch for Bitcoin is that's an independent global public ledger that's used to transfer and store value.
Okay, so let's dissect that. So it's an independent global public ledger that's used to transfer and store value. Okay, that's like the short one-liner, but let's dissect that.
Okay, so the independent part, this is the whole notion of decentralization. I say independent because it's easier for people to understand. So it's a public ledger that doesn't rely on banks or governments to be able to function. So you don't actually need to trust a third party. So it's public because it's also everything is traceable on the ledger. So all transactions can be seen on the ledger, and anyone can participate in storing and holding a copy of this ledger as well as helping to secure the network.
And so basically, so it's a public ledger and you can transfer value and everybody sees the same ledger. So it's completely transparent. It's not changeable. And you basically control value through private and public keys. So kind of like an email address with a password, you control whatever coins that are active on that ledger, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
let's talk about some facts about Bitcoin. We've actually written down 15 facts, and let's just kind of hit these one by one. So number one is Bitcoin was created in 2009 by an anonymous developer named Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, there have been a lot of speculation who that is. Recently, we've had another guy come out and say, I am Satoshi, but it seems like every time there's a big news article, it gets debunked within a week.
Absolutely.
Who is Satoshi?
We don't know who Satoshi is, and there's all kinds of speculation about this recent news. Some speculation saying that this person was blackmailed by some hackers and was doxxed to these media outlets. So we don't know. There's no evidence yet. So some other facts about Bitcoin is Bitcoin with a capital B refers to the network, and Bitcoin with a small b actually refers to the currency. So one of the ways that it can transfer value is through its native currency that it has. And this currency is also used to help add incentive to miners for securing transactions by contributing computational power onto the network.
So a lot of people, when they hear Bitcoin, they associate it with like the gold B. It looks like a coin. So a common misconception is that Bitcoin is these little gold coins, but that's not the case. What you're saying is we have a blockchain. We have Bitcoin with the B is like the system, and then Bitcoin with a lowercase b is the currency. So there's actually more to Bitcoin than just the currency, right? Can you go ahead and expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. Well, as a network and as a ledger, there's all kinds of other functions that you can do with Bitcoin. So, for example, you can use it to for notary service. You can use it for smart contracts or escrow service. You can use it as a private messaging service. In fact, there's actually stocks and bonds that have already been traded and recorded on this blockchain already. You could use it for cloud storage, for creating games. You can use it to prove randomness for online casinos, or a voting system to audit accounting, proof of reserves. So some are calling it the Internet of Value. It operates in a similar way to the Internet, except that it's predominantly used for proving ownership of value. You see, the way this current system works is that we're on a credit system for everything, whether you're trading stocks or whether you have credits in your bank account. It's all a credit ledger system that's controlled by a trusted third party. Now, what happens when this third party goes bust? As we've seen with these bailouts, or what we've seen with Greece, for example, people, they might not be able to honor the debts on those credits. So with Bitcoin, the difference being is that only the person who controls a private key can have access and prove that ownership and be able to access it. So it's a way of being able to cryptographically lock value onto a ledger and give you the keys, just like opening up the keys to your safe or vault to be able to unlock them. The only difference being than stashing cash or gold is that you can transfer this for global payments.
Well said. So let's move into that, like how Bitcoin actually works. And that's kind of the next fact here, is that transactions are linked to addresses that are a string of alphanumeric code. Okay, so basically it looks like a bunch of random numbers and letters that is your address, and it kind of works like an email address. And kind of the second part of that is that, Bitcoin is a global payments network that doesn't rely on banks and governments, as we kind of discussed. Another fact is that, each public address, each, alphanumeric code is paired with a private key, and all Bitcoins are locked on the ledger, and ownership is determined by the private keys that allow you to unlock and send coins. Can you think of any simpler way to say that, Rocky, or is that pretty much like the basis and the most basic way to put it?
Well, there's a misconception. Often we have the perception with a wallet that coins are stored on someone's computer, right? But they're actually just stored on the blockchain, or this ledger, just like you said. So I think that's really the simplest way. They probably, instead of a wallet, it would have made better sense to call it a keychain.
There you go. Yeah, because all the coins they don't leave the blockchain. It's like all of the coins are on the blockchain. It's just who has control of certain coins. That's really where the ownership lies.
Exactly. And so
there's no counterparty risk. It's not a debt-based currency.
Exactly. So there's, with freedom comes greater risk and responsibility sometimes. And one of the risks associated is if someone accesses your private keys, they'll get ownership of those coins and can move them to another address. And then that's how people can get hacked. So there's a lot of, there's certain things people can do to keep them secure, such as using a Trezor or, various other security. And paper wallets is another good one to store.
Yeah, I recently got the Trezor, which is, it's in my safe, but basically a little, looks like a little USB hard drive that you kind of plug into your computer, and you can store your keys on that, right? Is that basically the way to explain that?
Yeah, it isolates those keys from the internet. So you can plug it into your phone, use a phone wallet, or plug it in to your computer and use a web wallet, and it can sign transactions. So it'll isolate your private keys and sign transactions. So you can send coins really, really easily, and it kind of acts as another way of authenticating transactions. So even if your computer's full of viruses, if you're using a Trezor, there's no way that those viruses can access your private keys and steal your Bitcoins.
Yeah, so we'll link that up in the show notes too. Okay, a couple more facts that are kind of related to this. Bitcoin transactions can't be censored. So, you can send unlimited amounts of money to anyone around the world at any time, pretty much instantaneously for just a couple of pennies.
Pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. Simple way of putting it, right? And Bitcoin transactions are irreversible. So once you have confirmations, once the transaction happens and the network has consensus and you have confirmation from the network that this is a real transaction, it's in the blockchain, it's in the history, it's in that ledger forever. It can't be reversed.
Exactly. All right, and then how the the ledger is secured probably by about $3 billion worth of electricity and hardware costs every year to keep that network secure. So to try to, overpower the network with more computer power would be very, very costly. And so there's two ways that the network's secured. There are people who download the core wallet, and this wallet, it's called the Qt client. This core wallet has few features. It has an entire record of the whole ledger and all the transactions. It also can act as a full node. And what a node does is it actually communicates the rules of the program to anyone else who's also running this software. And it also communicates it to miners. And what miners do is they're securing new transactions onto the ledger by working hard to solve this cryptographic math problem. And this math problem, consider it like an evolving problem that evolves from all previous blocks, all previous transactions on the chain. Every time it solves one of these math problems, it takes these whatever transactions happen within a 10-minute span, groups them together, turns them into a block, and links it with previous blocks of transactions. So this is why it's called a blockchain. And what keeps these transactions so secure is that this math problem is always moving forward. It's always evolving forward, never backwards. So it means that people can't try to game the system and rewind transactions or, forge coins or try to double spend them, things like that. So it's that's really, I think, the simplest way I can describe it.
Yeah, that was well put. And one of the next rules was every Bitcoin is unique and can't be forged or double spent. So that's kind of the whole, even if you're not a technical person, like I'm not a programmer or a coder, but all you really have to understand is that this is like a digital ledger that coins can't be double spent. So if I take a, like a gold coin in my wallet and I give it to Rocky, I can't, there's no more gold coin, where previous digital currencies, that was a problem where you could actually double spend. You could like spend it over there, and then the network thinks that you still own it, spend it over there, and then run away and say, oh, well, I just bought all this stuff with, it was $1 worth and I bought $10 worth of stuff. You can't do that with Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is really important. And, it's not really, people don't really need to know all the technicals to be able to use it on a day-to-day basis. They just need to know how to send and receive and keep their private keys secure. But it does help because at least if they have an overview, people will know that they can trust the network, right? It helps if we understand it because we often fear what we don't understand.
Absolutely. So let's talk about like the most basic question that somebody new to Bitcoin typically has, which is, okay, I like this idea of Bitcoin. I think I kind of understand it. Some of the technical stuff kind of is messy for me, but okay, how do I get started? How do I buy a Bitcoin? How do I get my hands on some of this stuff? What would you say is the easiest way for somebody to get started?
Well, I'd say the first thing they need to do is make sure that their computer is secure.
Yeah.
I would, anytime, so I was on vacation last week. I must have pitched Bitcoin to about 50 people, and they were all very interested. And some people did ask me, how do I buy Bitcoins, etc. And I will never recommend anyone buys Bitcoin unless their computers are secure, because I hate to see noobs join and then have their Bitcoins hacked. So again, one of the easiest ways to do it is just get a Trezor, or make sure that there's no viruses on your computer. Linux and Ubuntu is actually a very safe operating system. So once you figure all that out and you have your, I know that that's not a very simple process. It's not like just opening up a simple Gmail account, right? But once all the security is down pat, and you know that your private keys will be secure, you can just open up a hot wallet at Coinbase, and for most countries you can link it up to your bank account. You can make purchases just like you would Bitcoin, not Bitcoin, PayPal, and then send it to another wallet. I don't necessarily recommend keeping a lot of your coins on a hot wallet, just because.
So by hot wallet, let's kind of explain what that means. So what is a hot wallet? Where are they buying from?
So a hot wallet is a wallet that is controlled by a third party. So if you keep your coins on an exchange, or if you keep your coins on a company,
so like Coinbase would be the same thing as Mt. Gox, which a lot of people that know the story of Mt. Gox, basically the owner or the founder stole a bunch of Bitcoin from people, and he claims that he was hacked and people stole Bitcoin. So if you leave your Bitcoin on an exchange, if that exchange gets hacked, you can lose your coins. Just like if you store your Bitcoin on your computer and your computer gets hacked, you can lose your Bitcoins as well, which is why Rocky's talking about, the importance of security and making sure your computer's locked down, and that if you have a significant amount of Bitcoin, that you keep them offline. So the Trezor or paper wallets, and have a backup. Because I've had people reach out to me and say, Chris, I got my password hacked for one of these exchanges. They took all my coins, and now, they can't do anything. They can't get them back, right? Because these transactions are irreversible. It's kind of the same thing as having gold. Like, just imagine if there was a thing as digital gold, right? That's really what Bitcoin is. So it's not like a credit card where you can do a chargeback or whatever. It's if you lose it, it's gone. It's cash. It's digital cash, digital gold. And so having it secure is the most important thing. And then what Rocky's also saying is to buy your first coins. If you just want to get into it, sometimes the easiest thing to do is to set up an account with one of the major exchanges or one of the major hot wallets like Coinbase or Bitfinex or one of the others. And we'll link them up. And the exchanges, to me, they kind of shift. Some of them are better than others. New ones are popping up. So I like to kind of keep an updated list of which ones are good. So whenever we post this in the show notes, we'll kind of put a list of the most current ones that we think are the best exchanges.
Yeah, absolutely. And things of the industry has evolved a lot since Mt. Gox. It was very, very difficult to buy and sell coins back in those days. Now things have become streamlined. Even a lot of these third parties have insurance companies underwriting them. Coinbase is probably one of the biggest Bitcoin companies in the world, and I'd say they're quite reputable. I personally still wouldn't keep all my coins there, just because I like to control my private keys. But
yeah, I mean, they have VC money and they have insurance, I think. But yeah, again, just keep control. What I like to do whenever I place a trade is move my Bitcoins onto the exchange or capital onto the exchange to make a trade. And when it's over, pull it back off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Don't use an exchange like a bank account. Use them when you're actively trading and getting returns. And I only trade with maybe about 10 or 15% of my Bitcoin holdings, just in case. You don't want to be completely wiped out if something happens to the exchange. And this is why leverage is really good, because you can increase your trading power while putting less coins on the exchange.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you trade smart, because leverage is a double-edged sword. It can help you make a lot of money, but you can also lose a lot of money if you don't know what you're doing.
This is true.
So go get my book. I'll link it up if you want to trade Bitcoin. It's a good start.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Rocky. So somebody's bought their first coins. How do they buy stuff? How do they send and receive coins? How do they buy products and services?
Yeah, so buying products and services are really easy. You go to a website, they say they accept Bitcoin, you click on the Bitcoin tab. It'll show you an address, usually with a 15-minute timer. and just say, send this amount of Bitcoin to this address. So all you have to do is open up your wallet, copy and paste that address, enter the amount, hit send, and it's done.
Yeah. And it's literally that easy. Like a lot of, I'm going to pull up some wallets so you guys can see. There's several different types of wallets. You know, there's Coinbase, blockchain, you know, there's several that you basically can store these on your phone. And if you walk up and somebody accepts Bitcoin, you can scan the QR code. I bought tacos the other day from a food truck, and the guy just flipped the thing around and he says, yep, here it's $9 and something cents. So I scanned the barcode, hit send. It was easier than using a credit card. So it's very, very simple. Don't, you know, I would just encourage anybody that's new to Bitcoin, don't be overwhelmed by all the technical jargon. It's really easy to get caught up in, you know, like blockchain and hash and nodes and all this technology that might be like, what, you know, just like you don't understand how just like how nobody understands how the Federal Reserve System works. You don't have to truly understand every technical aspect of Bitcoin to know that it works and that people trust it, right? It's been around for 5, 6, 7 years now. It's had some ups and downs and some bumps along the way, but it's growing. User adoption is growing every single day. So, you know, I don't think it's a good idea to have all of your capital in Bitcoin, but I think it's something that, and I tell people this when I speak at events, you don't want to be the person that writes off the internet, right? Like back when AOL was out, you know, I like to use this example. Nobody back when AOL was out thought that, you know, we would be where we are today with like Facebook and all these companies with multiple billion-dollar valuations that are internet companies, right? And I'm not saying that that's going to happen with Bitcoin, but, you know, it is changing the way that a lot of industries work. Fintech, financial technology, you know, is just taken over. And everything from the way that real estate transactions are done, banking ledgers are done, it is going to change a lot of stuff more than just like having this, you know, kind of libertarian cryptocurrency, which I think is important, but it is so much more than that.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, I heard the internet was a Ponzi scheme.
It's going away, man. It's just a fad. All right, Rocky, let's do like a rapid fire uses for Bitcoin. I'm going to rattle off a few and you rattle off some of your favorites. You know, it can be, I think you mentioned this earlier, it can be used to store and send financial securities like stocks and bonds. So I know, you know, overstock.com just launched their thing where you're going to be able to buy and sell like ownership in companies through Bitcoin. It can be used as a notary service. So you can record proof of documents and ownership. And this is, again, it's going to change the way that property titles are done. I actually met with the founder and the leadership team of Factum. They were pitching our angel investment group here in Austin, and you know, just talking about how they're working with governments on a global scale to change the way that property ownership is documented and tracked. And they recently took, I think it was Honduras, that they overtook their, or they're in the process of transferring all of their property ownership onto the blockchain. So those are kind of my favorite use cases. What about you, Rocky?
Well, I like how it's has a potential of disrupting the financial industry by showing a clear paper trail as well as proof of reserves, which could help against naked short selling. Because of the whole, you know, credit system and the 3-day delay, there's a lot of naked short selling that can happen on Wall Street. So that's going to be very disruptive. I also, there's also some games now. People are creating digital card games where you could actually trade and own these games on the blockchain. So messaging service, you can create a decentralized encrypted messaging service, cloud storage. You know, because think about cloud storage from a security and privacy standpoint. You know, if you use Google or Amazon, you're using a centralized third party that basically has access to all your private information. Whereas you can break up that information to all kinds of little bits, encrypt it onto people's computers, and then, you know, access and unencrypt it with a private key and get access to that. So
I love it. Another one of my favorites is crowdfunding.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
There's a website, I can't remember the name of it, but I recently saw it. It's crowdfunding with Bitcoin. Do you know what that is?
I think it's a Lighthouse.
Okay.
That's the platform.
We'll look it up and link it up in this in the show notes. But you know, the point here, guys, is that there's just so many use cases for Bitcoin, and it's affecting so many different markets. And you know, I said this back in 2013. I was talking to several of my friends on Wall Street that work in venture capital or traders or whatever, and everybody back, you know, this was just a couple of years ago, was laughing at that. They said, "Oh, it's a Ponzi scheme. It's a pump and dump. It's some geek money." And now those same people are calling me and saying, "Hey, you know, I've just been directed to kind of lead the blockchain research for our company. You know, can you help me out?" And it's funny. I mean, Wall Street is now taking this very seriously. And this year alone, they've invested close to or over $1 billion with a B dollars into startups in the Bitcoin community. So this is more than just geek money. By this point, you know, the naysayers are quietly, you know, hushing, but there are some, you know, prominent business heads that are still like really negative on Bitcoin, and that's okay. I mean, we need balance. I'm definitely not a cheerleader for it. It's got issues that need to be worked out. It's not a perfect system, but I think it's a lot better than what we have right now. What do you think, Rocky?
I think anything is better than fractional reserve banking.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
Talking about a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, exactly. Oldest Ponzi scheme in the book.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today, guys, is just, you know, the basics of Bitcoin, what it is, some facts about it, some use cases, and maybe dispelling a few myths. And we're certainly going to be doing more episodes in the future around this topic, different ways to make money with Bitcoin, different ways you can get involved and be a part of the movement and the innovation that's happening. And, you know, just kind of tips and tricks for how to do this the right way and not lose all your coins. So, Rocky, any final notes or tips or suggestions or advice for somebody new to Bitcoin?
Well, you know, continue looking at what Chris has to offer and what we're offering with daily trading profits, as well as his website. And you can follow us. We're both very active on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Crypto Hustle. That's my handle. And I'm often making commentary on Bitcoin and the markets in particular, because that's my niche is in trading Bitcoin. And yeah, and you could also get a lot of research by looking at the Bitcoin subreddit on Reddit as well. There's often really great information that's shared there.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and link up all of the resources that we talked about in this episode in the post, in the show notes, and certainly reach out if you have any questions. I'm Chris Dunn TV everywhere on social media. Rocky is Crypto Hustle on Twitter and social media. And yeah, we're excited about this. I think this is just a great area to be focused on, and a great area to make some money, build wealth, and just be a part of history and do something cool. So, Rocky, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon.